Thank you, Gopkumar, for enlightening us on the importance of 10 points of electrical safety. Also, you said there is no shortcut to safety. You have to follow the procedures, you have to follow the standards and codes if you want to live safely. I also have with us Mr. James Kudi Thomas, who is also the retired electrical inspector from Kerala, and Mr. Suresh Vasudevan, who has reached 58 years of experience, the man who part of the National Building Code changes from the start till today. We are so blessed to have him. Mr. Suresh Vasudevan is from Trivandrum. He is based out of Trivandrum. I'm so happy, glad to see all of them. So I also have a request to all the participants, those who wants to have an interactive session, please raise your hand. After I'll take few questions from the question box, and we have eminent panelists today. We have Appavu, we have Suresh, we have James Kuti, and Mr. Gopakumar. So you can raise a question, and probably they will be able to also participate in giving the right answer to you. So you can, there is a icon below, raise hand. If you want to speak to them, you can put it. So I will just two lines of a word from Mr. Suresh and Mr. James Kuti. Over to Suresh, sir, 2 words, 2 minutes.
You got to be on my, I can only speak, it's okay?
No, you can also come on video, sir. You can see, we can. You can
no, it's okay. I was gonna. Well, what a pleasure to hear from Appavu Saab, from the Electrical Inspectorate of Tamil Nadu, with all his brilliant background and international exposure in Japan, and the practices there. Comparatively, one of the finest electrical inspectorate, I would say, Tamil Nadu, and of course, to be followed by the brilliant presentation from Gopakumar, whom I consider one of the best in the country, to know all about the electrical safety installation, codal provisions in particular. And I was so happy to have this very close association for the National Building Code work, wherein the provisions of the lightning protection and other related aspects, we were pretty bad in that. We brought it in line with the Indian IEC provisions, the latest provisions, against stiff opposition from many in the industry who did not want any of those things to come in over there. And we're very happy it stood the test of the time. And Gopakumar's 10-point issues are very good. I raised a few questions already on the question box. So let me not repeat those questions now, which I leave it to you to raise it. I have 2 rounds of questions to Gopakumar and 1 round to the regulator, that is Engineer Appavu. Maybe you may like to raise it that way. But since you want me 2 minutes, I think it's fantastic. And I'm very happy that as president of Focus, we have a great vertical to deal with safe electrical installation. And electrical installation safety is directly linked to the fire safety aspect. All the fires are due to short circuit happening in electrical installation. And therefore, the umbilical cord between both of them. And I'm very happy that Gopakumar really brought it out. And the best thing I liked was the electrical audit that he said towards the end, and the large number of things regarding the materials that the conductors being used, how faulty practices are being used, etc., etc. I'm very happy to hear that. I'm sure all the participants would have loved it enormously, that I can see from the way in which they're giving on the chat box, as well as some queries also coming. Gopi, you did a wonderful job. Very happy and proud as not only a member of the BIS for the National Electrical Code and National Building Code, and also with the Focus, a very active participant for all our work. My congratulations to you for a great presentation. I'm so impressed. Very proud of you. Very proud of you.
Thank you so much, sir. I would request the participant to raise your hand. You click on the raise hand if you want to participate in the discussion or you want to interact. So I will take people who are raising the hand. I can see that 4 of them are lined up, but however, I'll just pick up 1 question. So this is for Mr. Gupkar. This is from Narsinga Rao, who's been a participant from all our series and very actively participating. Thank you, sir. Thank you for participating. His question is, what should be the floor and wall resistances, impedances to be maintained in a hospital? Please explain.
Yeah, Actually, there is no limit as such. It should be certain ohms, 50 ohm, 100 ohm, something like. It is not like that. What is necessary is the floor and wall. A person who is working on that area, he shall not get a shock from the floor and the wall. Number one, if the floor resistance is lesser, chance of getting shock is more. What do? You have to increase the floor resistance. So for that, what we should do is, we should test whether the touch voltage, or we have to test and find out the touch voltage. If the touch voltage is more than 50 volt, then of course you need to have a floor mat or something like that, so that the resistance is increased. Similarly is the touch voltage. Say for example, in a hospital, touch voltage inside the operation theater and all, touch voltage lesser than 25 volt. So we have to do this testing, and if the voltage is lesser, we are in danger, and we have to do, or sorry, if the voltage is higher, then we are in danger, and we have to put the appropriate protective measure. There is no resistance, but it is actually related to voltage, shock voltage.
Thank you. Sir, again, a question from our panelist, Mr. Suresh V, is asking, Gopkumar, faults and failures in electric safety. What is it due to substandard electrical material and appliances, or poor quality of installation practices, or lack of skilled, trained, certified people, or electricians, lack of development? So with your experience, what do you think the causes of all this? I'm sure all are the causes, but let me hear from you.
Yes, as you said, all are the causes. For example, in one of the seminar, one of the managing director of a very popular wire supplier, he was commenting that about 90% of the wires sold in the market under my company's brand name are duplicate.
Oh.
So, so this is the situation.
So what is the mechanism, Suresh sir, to control duplicate of electrical? I'm sure that you'll find in Delhi and every major city, duplicate of brands. Is there any mechanism to check on that?
Of course, yes, actually, this mechanism is there. ISI marking is necessary, and nowadays, if the manufacturer complains, the police or the authority can go to these shops, and the shops can be closed forever. The rules are there, but the question is, who will go to these steps, to ensure that the things are in proper condition. So one of the devil in electrical engineering is the duplicacy of the products.
Don't you have a system called test certificate? Like example, I'm buying a cable of certain quantity. Can't I demand the test certificate of the product?
Yes, of course it is there. ISI marked, and the test certificates are there. But the problem is, a duplicate fellow also will give you this, because a duplicate person is imagine there is a brand A. The duplicate fellow is making under the name of the brand A, and they give the test certificates of the brand A. So more than finding out the test certificate, these purchases shall be made from reliable sources. Very, very reliable sources. That is the only way. So the second question from Suresh sir is unsafe, poor quality installation practices. Of course, this is so far the 10 points which I explained is about the poor quality installation practices. The third is skill of an electrical engineer. This is also an accelerator of the accidents, and lack of depth in supervision. Of course, if we go to the modern buildings, which we always see high-rise buildings which is catching fire, there most of the cases, if we look, especially let me say about Bombay, high-rise buildings, of course they are using quality material. They don't be substandard material, because they have the system. Most builders have the system to check the quality of the material. So that part is taken care. Probably a house owner may be buying something which is of substandard quality, and he is installing it into a good electrical installation which is creating fire. So in foreign countries, they do PAT test, portable appliance test. So that means there is a small meter you have to connect your appliance into that particular meter, and the meter will tell you your appliance is in good condition or not. It makes an insulation resistance test, it makes a heat test, and it gives you a sticker. Actually, in for example, in Australia, you can connect only PAT tested device into your electrical installation. If you don't do it, and in case of any accident, then the owner is liable. So such systems are already in practice, but of course, PAT test is not very popular in India, or of course, it is not at all popular in India. But these high-rise buildings, I would say, most of the cases it is due to poor installation practices. More than the quality of the material, I would say poor installation practices. So I would say this is the answer, Mr. Dominic.
Okay, I'll just go on to the next question from Asanand Kalwani. He's saying, what is electric insulation coating? Can you suggest any company engaged in this service?
Can you repeat the question? What
is electric insulation coating? Is a 1252 the question is coating.
Coating.
Yeah.
Insulation coating. Insulation.
Some chemical coating, you mentioned a chemical coating. Somebody said.
Insulation means different kind of every current carrying conductor. The wire is having a PVC covering. That is insulation.
Okay, I'll just move on, sir. That there's one more similar questions, like a couple of people. What is RCD test?
Yeah.
They want to elaborate on RCD test.
Yeah, RCD test. Earth fault protection. We are using RCDs, means residual current device. In houses, we have 30 milliampere RCD nowadays in most of the incoming DB. Now on the RCD, you can see a test button. So frequently you are supposed to push this button and to find out whether your RCD mechanical parts are in good condition so that it is able to work, because it's a life-saving equipment. So the test number one is you should push the test button and ensure that it is working. Now, periodically, again, for residential, the recommended practice is once in 2 years. Periodically, you are supposed to do the tripping time and the tripping current of the RCD. So what we should do, there is a meter available. You can Google, you can find out RCD tester. Probably it is costing 15 to 20,000 rupees. This RCD tester, you have to connect it to your RCD, and this RCD tester will exactly tell you at what current and what time the RCD is able to trip. So basically, with a meter, you need to test the RCD, which is mandatory in most of the Middle East countries. Of course, in Europe and America, it is 100%. Over to you, Mr.
I now, if Mr. Suresh Kumar, who was there in the panel, do you have any question to ask? Mr. Suresh Kumar, you are on panel. Are you listening? Can you hear us? Okay. I'll move on to the next question, sir. Vilas is asking how to take care of electrical meter fire in our building. Transformer outlet comes to a bus bar and isolator having fuses. Meter and upstream belongs to Maharashtra Electricity and downstream belongs to society. Meter was changed and working fine, showing no problem on downstream side.
Yeah, you see, this is where the system earthing and the method of electricity supply comes into picture, because the meter is the property of the electrical supply company, but the fire is in the building. So fire belongs to the building and the meter belongs to the energy supplier. But of course, what the energy supplier shall do is, energy supplier is supposed to test the line-to-line fault short circuit current, line to neutral short circuit current, and line to earth fault current, and he is supposed to make the appropriate safety measure. Say, for example, if he is supplying with a TNS system, and when there is an insulation failure in the meter, before the meter catches fire, the fuse which is supposed to be before the meter is supposed to disconnect. So if the fuse is installed after the meter, of course, it catches fire. And if it is not disconnecting, again, it catches fire.
Okay, I'll move on to Raju. The question is, still we have to go for plate earthing for neutral earth, or is there any advanced earthing now? Can we use copper rod earthing for neutral?
Actually, this subject, the earthing, transformer neutral, it has nothing to do with the plate or pipe or copper or GI. You have to take a wire which is of sufficient rating and you connect it to a bus bar. The bus bar, which can be closer to your transformer, and that particular connection, you have to find out what kind of system you are using. Say, for example, a TNS system. You have to have a bus bar. Neutral has to be connected to that particular bus bar. Then this bus bar has to be extended to your electrical installation, and all the metallic parts of your building must be connected to this particular bus bar. And that bus bar also can be connected to the functional earthing. It can be an electrode in soil. It can be an electrode. It can be the steel reinforcement of your building. So fundamentally, if we read all these things, a plate or two pipes or two pipe-in pipes or two chemical earthing, all these things are actually not at all necessary. These are actually misinterpretation of these standards. So you should implement the correct system earthing.
Okay. Suresh Netam, are you there? If you're able to listen to me, you can unmute and probably you can ask a question.
Also, Mr. James Kuti.
Sir, are you there, sir? Mr. James Kuti, I sent you a message, but I didn't get a word from you on this whole subject that you are listening. Okay, while they come back, we will take another question. Is Vandan Kumar Loda, 33 kV cable punctured. IV side load was only 300 amps. Then what is the reason for cable puncture?
Probably a higher voltage. Insulation failure is, it can also be due to a higher voltage, which is more than the insulation level of the cable. If it is electrical, probably mechanical reasons also can be there.
Sir, there Raju again is asking about 12 years, after 12 years, is there necessity to revamp the earth pit, like replacing chemical earthing and plating earthing? Plate earthing.
Actually, for your information, our next seminar, which is planned, I think, on webinar, which is planned on 21st of May.
It is based on. Yeah.
Yes, it is on exclusively on this particular subject of chemical earthing. Even the IEC had included or made a standard 62561 part 7, which is earth enhancing material. That means what kind of material you should put into the earth in order to increase or improve your system. So our next webinar is on this particular subject, earth enhancing material, and we will try to cover those questions on that particular day.
I think Riaz Ahmed Qazi is also very eager to know understanding earthing bounding requirement for solar PV. Request to put some light. I think Mr. Gokul already answered. Our next webinar, which is now lined up for 21st of May, invitation will come to you, Riaz. It is dedicated only about earthing chemicals. So please do join us, and your questions will be answered on that day, probably enlightened more in detail by the presentation of Mr. Gopakumar. Ishwara here, I don't know the question clearly, but I'll read out to our panelist here. Is type 2 coordination mandatory for all motors in a residential building?
But motors in a residential building, only few motors are there. Like motors are generally used widely in industry, but in a residential building, except other than pumping water, I don't know why so much motors are there. But of course, for industrial application, type 2 coordination of the switchgear is necessary. Appavu sir, any comments on this? I hope Appavu sir is there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Tell me which subject.
Sir, the question is type 2 coordination. Is it necessary for motors used in a residential house?
Yes, yes, it's quite essential. Type 2 coordination is missing universally. There is no coordination between the sizing of cable, the MCB, which is stripping the circuit, and the load, which is served by these combinations. So we are missing. It's a very simple thing. I don't know why the coordination. You did not have a full-fledged design office for that. You just see the characteristics of MCB and the starting characteristics of the drive and the rating of cable. Then there ends only two equations are there, 1.45 times and the tripping type of MCB. If you have a mixer or grinder, then you will have to go for type C, type MCB. If it's a pump motor, B would do. So you just see the characteristic curve defined by the IS or IEC and design accordingly.
Okay, sir, I'll go to Smriti Ranjan Pradhan is asking brief more about fault loop impedance.
Yeah. So before that, I would like to share the screen and give a small information. So I hope you are able to see the screen. Mr. Dominic, can you see the screen?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Now I'm just showing the website solve. See, all our webinars which we are doing in the website, you can see a blog. So here, all our webinars are there as a blog. Now, let us say, for example, one of our last program, if you click this, you can find out the video and you can find out all information about this particular webinar, including the question answers, because there are a lot of questions, and including the question answers are included in the blog. So I would request that you please, I will post the link into the chat box. You can also go through this information, even if we are unable to answer to you, the information, the answers are there in the blog. Please use this method. So now the question, fault loop impedance. See, as a protective measure in a TN or a TT system, you are having a MCB. The purpose of the MCB is during an overcurrent, such as an overload or a short circuit or an earth fault, your MCB is supposed to trip. Now, in an earth fault, in order to find out whether the MCB is tripping or not within the specific time, sometime multiples of the rated current should flow through the MCB. For example, a type C MCB require 10 times its rated current to disconnect within 0.2 seconds. Means a 63 amps MCB requires 630 amps current to flow through it. Then only it will trip within that particular specific time. Now that disconnection current is related to the impedance of the circuit. You have a faulty circuit and the circuit is having certain impedance. It's a closed loop because only through the closed loop enough fault current flows. And this impedance of this loop has to be measured. And for measuring it, actually, sometimes you don't know the length and the size of each and every conductor. You don't know the size of the transformer. So you have a meter, which is called as a fault loop impedance meter. You put the meter into the circuit, put it on to the test mode, and it gives you the fault loop impedance value, with which you can find out the fault current. And from the fault current, you can determine the disconnection time. The test is called as efficiency of automatic disconnection of the supply. And what we have to do is do the fault loop impedance test and find out the disconnection time. Over to you, Mr. Dominic. I hope it's clear.
Yeah. Suraj Sanven, Suraj is asking why TNS is suitable for data center buildings. Since there are multiple trafo and DG in data center buildings. lot of neutral pits, that is bracket second for neutral, by code, and dedicated network earthings will be there. This will increase number of pits to 200 pits. Please guide on this. Suraj from Mumbai.
It is actually a misinterpretation. In a building like a data center, these modern buildings, you can have, let us say, for example, 50 transformers and 50 DGs. It doesn't mean that you need 200 earth pit for neutral and 200 earth pit for body. No, that is absolutely wrong. Connecting the neutral and body to separate earth pit itself is the biggest mistake. Please don't do it. You have to connect it to an earthing arrangement. Earthing arrangement means an interconnection of several metallic parts in a building. So first you have to have an equipotential bonding arrangement in your building, and the transformer neutral. Say, for example, you have 3 DGs and the DGs are synchronized, and the output of the synchronization, there is a neutral which need to be earthed. Probably that particular neutral you have to connect to the earthing arrangement, which is nothing but a bus bar. Similarly, you have a isolation transformer. Isolation transformer output, if you require an earthed system, that also you have to connect to the nearest bus bar. So if you are connecting it to separate earth electrode, and if you are if hundreds of earth electrodes are there in your system, that is a big mistake. Please don't do it. Nowhere in the regulation or the standards this is written. Standards are and regulations are here misinterpreted. Please don't do it. We can help you to design such system. For example, in one of the data center where we have a 220 kV extra high voltage supply, 220 kV, then 22 kV distribution within different buildings of the data center, and then they have 400 volt and extra low voltage. All these systems are there without any earth electrode in soil, zero earth electrode in soil. So such systems are already there, and these are already included in the standard. So you are supposed to follow these modern measures, not the earth pit in soil. Over to you, Mr. Dominic.
Okay. The question from Ravichandran Krishnasamy, excellent, thank you so much, putting together a fantastic which standard, I'll ask you, which standard applied to the elimination or neutral current due to triplet order, limiting the neutral current at the feeder level rather than installing a K-rated transformer will considerably prevent fire accident, in my opinion. A dangerous situation is when a neutral is disconnected due to high current. I think he's suggesting to one of the question something probably more from Gopakumar.
Yeah, actually, for the neutral safety of the electrical installation from harmonic currents is done by, in case of a triplet harmonic, the current through the neutral will be high, and once when the current is much more, see, the point number one is harmonics will deteriorate the installation because of overheating of the conductors, and it is a power quality issue. And this power quality issue, it becomes a safety issue once when the current through the neutral is higher. And what is written in the rules is to measure the current, and if the current is more than the current carrying capacity of the conductor, you are supposed to disconnect the phase conductor, never the neutral conductor. So measure the neutral conductor current, and if it is more than the limit, you should disconnect the phase conductor. So two safety measures are implemented. One is the neutral size of the neutral is increased, even though it is increased, but this safety measure is mandatory. So this has actually, safety has nothing to do with the K-rated transformer and all. With respect to safety, you should measure neutral current and disconnect the phase conductor. So over to you, Mr. Dominic. You are on mute.
Vidya is raising a question. Are the annual electrical inspection conducted by CAIG, a sample inspection, or expected to be exhaustive inspection of all common electrical installations, especially in high-rise building apartment complexes?
No, not like that. The responsibility of the electrical inspectorate, probably Appavu sir is able to explain more, or if Mr. James Kutty Thomas is there, they are able to answer. In my view, the electrical inspectorate's responsibility is to do the system or test the system which is above the notified voltage, or like DG and other things in the low voltage. So electrical inspectorate is not carrying out any test which is in the low voltage, inside consumer premise. It is a responsibility of the user. Appavu sir, any answer?
Yes, sir. I would like to supplement your point. Actually, Regulation 36 provides inspection of multi-storage buildings which receives supply at voltage less than 11 kV also. So state government have to notify the voltage beyond which the electrical inspectors have to inspect. But there's a specific provision in Regulation 36, and based on this, the electrical inspectors are inspecting installations of multi-storage buildings, irrespective of the voltage of supply, whether 415 volt or 11 kV. Normally, in most of the 4 or 5 blocks of multi-story buildings, the utility are providing distribution transformers, and all the buildings are availing LT supply only with separate metering to get the benefit of tariff concession and other things. So those installations are also inspected by the electrical inspectorate only. But as the question actually raised is whether testing everything is conducted by the inspectors. It's really a tough job for everybody. The accountability has to be shared by everybody. You have every right as a owner. You have every right to have your building to get the sanction for the building under local body approval, and to engage a contractor. He should know the regulations, rules, and the electrical inspector is insisting drawing. By the time you should evaluate a suitable design, then you get it approved. After the drawing approval, we are coming for inspection. So inspection can't be investigative one. It can only be a random sampling. Wherever we find based on the regular flaws that you make in the installation, we point out and we do it. It's ultimately you are the responsible person to coordinate all these things. Yes,
So a very important question is coming from Home Baba. How to withstand RCCB in existing building installation having UPS and inverter and load on UPS and inverter is supplied with common electricity board neutral instead of separate neutral for UPS load?
Actually, using this common neutral for UPS and the other loads are a violation of the basic electricity safety requirement. A neutral, of course, this has been not included anywhere in a standard so far, but the upcoming National Electrical Code, we have included it in a detailed picture. An inverter should derive, or it has to have its own neutral for the load which is connected to that particular inverter. Of course, this is happening only in India, not in other countries, because here we have the habit of one neutral shared with so many load. In such cases, RCCBs actually won't work. If you put an RCCB at the incoming, then if you have an inverter, most of the time when there is no power, this inverter may create accidents such as fire from the inverter itself, or shock because of the backfeeding of the inverter. There are cases where the electrician working on the high voltage side of the distribution company got electrocuted because of the backfeeding of the power supply from the inverter. So the simple answer is you cannot share neutral commonly. There is nothing called the common neutral. You have to have a separate line and neutral for each of your source. Appavu sir, anything to add?
Yes, I think there are several questions based on UPS. Mr. Gopa, can I forward one document that's available with me on UPS recommendation based on IEEE 1100 and IEEE 446? Because people are getting confused with the neutral connection and so many earth electrodes. There was one question. And in my opinion, we have to avoid the common mode noise. This is essential for the sensitive devices or the servers. Whenever you are going for a sensitive device like servers or PLCs, it is not tolerable for any shift in voltage, any impression of external voltages, whether it be a circulating current or something. That's why they are providing localized transformer or localized TNS system. The TNS system is a must for the computer installations or IT installations. How it is being configured and carried out is clearly given in my document. I will share it with you. You please read it and study it. It is just on.
Yeah. So we will include it, we can circulate it and we can put it in the blog so that all the users can read it whenever they need.
Yeah, it will be available in the Cape blog. We will share you the link also. However, you have mail IDs of Gopakumar and mine. You can search separately so that we'll send you the document and we'll be, putting every webinar, every detail, every presentation in the blog. You can just follow that. Let me go to my question also, the same what Amit Kumar is asking, just for layman understanding. Is there a difference between earthing and grounding?
No, earthing is used in the eastern part of Atlantic Ocean and the grounding is the word used in the western part of Atlantic Ocean. So the difference is Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah. Oh.
Yes, so in Americas they use grounding and Europe and this side we use earthing.
But the word is the same. So there's always grounding. Suresh sir, you want to say something on this?
No, it's fine. I think he has given the right answer. I had two more rounds of questions. One for the regulator, Apavu subs. I wanted him to come in because they are the one to ensure. So one question was for him and one more for Go.
You can ask Mr. Apavu sir. Is there?
Yes, please move on to that question in the chat box, sir. Which question?
Why don't you read the question in the QA box? Number 2.
Yes.
After Gopakumar, question was to Apavu.
I will read out the question to Apavu, Mr. Apavu.
Yeah, better.
As a regulator, do you feel there is a lack of full in-depth awareness of all regulations under IEA by practitioners?
Continue. Would it be desirable to license? You please continue the question. Would it be desirable to, okay, let me answer.
Would it be desirable to license the practitioner for complaints and capabilities or capacities? Point number 2, is there laxity in electrical inspection and enforcement from electrical inspectorate? Is capacity contains in EIT? Third question, do you have annual and periodical inspection and audit in existing building with full capacity and electrical load? Fourth, last, the exposed live wires in a building and ducts pose a danger. I think Mr. Gopakumar also add to this thing. It's a lengthy 4 questions that he's asked.
Yes, Mr. Suresh, it's a vital. These are the vital questions. These actually require close scrutiny across this country. Your questions are very vital, and as an expert, I know that you know the answer. Anyhow, let me explain to the shortest possible. See, the thing is, electrical inspectors, they can't be an expert. Gopakumar is an expert in standards formulation, and Mr. Suresh Vasudevan is an expert in a specific field of NEC. And I can say that Mr. Dominic is an expert in fire and safety. So we can't expect the electrical inspector to be an expert of each and every field. Of course, they can invite the experts and learn things when specific cases arise. They can get in consultation with Gopa or Dominic or Suresh Vasudevan to address a specific issue that powers they have. So whatever the mandatory issues are arising, they will certainly call for. But as far as the electrical inspectorate or inspectorial organization is concerned, it is very skeletal. The thing is, we can't, it's a socio-political issue. I can say that it is a socio-political issue. They can't go on increasing the electrical inspectorial organization strength based on the consumer or strength. It is not possible. It is something like police and public strength or judges and cases strength. The electrical inspectorial organization can gain importance by not on its own alone. It is dependent upon the stakeholders like contractors or the policies, regulators, everybody. So the thing is, electrical inspectors can't do as an individually, they can't do things because the law is already there. It is stringent. The act is stringent. Still, the implementation is poor. Why? There is no single, you can say, there is no single prosecution or single compensation of sizable amount to the accident victim like road accidents. You can see the difference. These are the thing scenario that actually existing in our country. We have to look into this. Regarding the contractor side, we have to educate them. Awareness creation is one of the ways that we can do, and we can educate. And contractors are mainly interested in doing the things in the civil aspect, mechanical aspect, but in electrical aspect, asset consultation they are doing. In electrical aspects, whether the sizing or design aspects are coming, only the consultants are playing a major role. Contractors are just believing what the consultants or the owner, the consultant engaged by the owner, but whatever the flaws, contractors are not aware. This is the actual scenario going on in the field. Hope, Mr. Suresh,
Thank you, sir. My only suggestion is, the capacities of the electrical inspectorate, does it require to be expanded? With now more number of buildings coming, capability to inspect regular intervals, complex issues of tall buildings, which is brought out. My only thing is, in the electrical inspectorate, do you require more and more teams of latest knowledge, etc., latest technologies, etc.? That's my limited point.
Yes, sir, you are right. Actually, it is not the strength which makes a beautiful implementation. It is a will. I don't say that because CSE, competent electrical safety engineers, have already been provided in the regulation, but it is started happening throughout the country for the past at least 6 to 7 years. So there are things which we have to address. We are still crossing the IER 56. We have not yet come to the 2010 regulation fully. So the new regulation, everything has to be taken in letter and spirit. Then only it will happen.
Sir, actually, I would like to add here, the 2015 Central Electricity Regulation had included Chartered Electrical Safety Engineer. This is not a person from the Electrical Inspectorate. It is an engineer who is qualified by the State Electrical Inspectorate. And this Chartered Electrical Safety Engineer can carry out testing and inspection of voltages up to notified voltage. That means high-rise buildings and industrial buildings, which is having a low voltage installation. The Chartered Electrical Safety Engineer is supposed to do this particular job because the limited manpower of the electrical inspectorate may not be able to handle it. Plus, it needs a lot of different kind of meters. It has to have large infrastructure and so on. But the problem is, state governments did not implement it even in 2022. It's almost 7 years. This is the answer in short.
In fact, that is exactly what I had in my mind. Capacity building, capability building, this is what exactly I meant. So keep this chartered electrical safety engineer as an independent one, which is supporting your extended arm of the electrical inspectorate to get the job done. And you will be registering them based on very strict testing and capability assessment, etc. And once you do that, then you will find a very strong force electrical inspectorate, including lift inspectorate, and of course to deal with the capability for testing all the latest one. But as Gope said, these are area which requires implemented 7 years over, is a hell of a lot of time. Most of it latest provisions of Indian International Electric Commission's IEC documents available, which is a good reference document for latest practices. These type of things are absolutely must in terms of capabilities within the electrical inspectorate as well. Anyway, I'm glad to hear from Pau. Well, let's see what James Kuti has to say on the same, sir. Kerala.
Yes, totally agree with you, sir, Mr. Suresh. Sir. As you said, and Gopa observed that under Regulation 5A, the Chartered Electrical Safety Engineers have already been introduced in the regulation, but state, as I have told, state have to create lot of CESs, that is Electrical Safety Engineers, so that the LT and ME installations, as per Regulation 30 and 43, the state government have to notify beyond which voltage electrical inspectors have to inspect. Before that voltage, below that voltage, only CESs are eligible to inspect and issue a certificate. So based on the certificate, electricity board or utility company will issue supply. But unfortunately, the chartered electrical safety engineer is not at coming. It is not at certified. I don't think whether any of the electrical inspectorate in our country come out with a list of such CSCs.
Yeah, sir. Here
James Kuti, sir, are there in these? Are you there, sir? Can you unmute and give your comment? Everybody is quite keen to know from your view on this. So, are you there, sir, James Kuti, sir?
Also, Mr. Dominic, actually, this chartered electrical safety engineer, the electrical inspectorate from Maharashtra had already conducted the test and qualified the engineer. We have a gentleman, Mr. Riaz Ahmed Qazi. He is an engineer from working with, I forget the name of his company. Mr. Riaz, you can unmute, and if you wanted to add something or your experience as a chartered electrical safety engineer, you can share on the forum. You can unmute.
Is he there?
Yeah, I think he's there, but he can unmute, but I think he's probably not listening.
Yeah, that's...
Actually, Maharashtra has taken a big lead. I think Gujarat is likely to join also shortly, by the way, on chartered electric safety engineers.
Sir, I have a friend, Ishwar Iyer, who is there as a participant also. He is a veteran.
Yeah, Ishwar Iyer is from Ernakulam and Trivandrum, no?
Yeah, he is from Mumbai now. He is
one of the Mumbai, okay.
He is a highly knowledgeable person on the fire. What he's writing is, it is reported that in Mumbai, Maharashtra, almost 70% fires related to improper wiring and short circuit. And 39% of the installed fire system doesn't work. And in addition to that, Maharashtra Fire Board or CFO suggested joint audit by the fire auditor and electrical inspector must do an audit. But who is the competent authority on this subject? So nobody knows. There is no license for even fire audit. Who is a fire auditor? I do audit on my own capacity, but there's no certification. And Government of India does not issue a certificate that he is a capable, fire auditor. But the question is, everything is nice, but who is the competent authority to certify the auditor?
I think there are two components here. Dominic, as Mr. Iyer has rightly said, there are two components here. One is the electrical audit, which is the safety aspects of electrical installation. As he himself said, it is the deficiency in that which is causing the fire. So fire is caused because of the bad installation of the electrical installation, short circuit, etc., etc. The 10 points have to be taken into account. You should have right team. So that electrical audit is one. But fire audit is a thing which is simultaneously now being practiced now, increasing, where all buildings require regular fire audit at periodic intervals. And the fire auditors have got to be recognized by the concerned state fire and rescue services team there. They will have to really see that they got the right qualification to deal with that, possibly based on the provisions required for the submission of the application, which is also there in the Fire Safety Act as well as the NBC. So this is a joint area, but somebody to do both the electrical safety audit and fire safety audit together will be fantastic. If you are able to get somebody to deal like that, it will be very good. And there Prasad Rao is saying that National Safety Council is the fire auditors by qualifying the training given by them. So that one answer is there were fire audit. Electrical audit also, I'm sure, based on the same qualification.
No, Ishwara,
Same qualification as given for the CSE.
Yes, Dominic.
Yeah, Ishwar, what's the view? Now, your question is very valid, but you being from Mumbai, Mara, and you've been interacting with all kind of agency across, and with your 45 years of experience as a fire expert or a fire consultant, what is the view on this?
One important thing, as I said, these two things, the lack of, the 70% fires and 39%, that's the virtual double whammy after so many years, despite having the Form B concept, which is among the few states in the country to have that. Despite having that, we know the flaws in that. Despite that, we seem to be still having this problem of so many fires. So the MFB of CFO has definitely, saying that, look, we need to look at the Maharashtra Fire Safety Act, and there should be a joint audit, because if the root cause is not attacked, then no amount of fire protection is going to help. It is going to endanger the lives of fire people. Now, what my submission is, now if you look at the certified electrical safety inspector, there's only one Mr. Doifode or somebody. I just went into their website and there's only one. What a shame. Now, if that is the issue, we can't just keep a finger and then say, oh, look, we don't have the certified inspector. Now we should find out a mechanism wherein at least those who are qualified to basically do the inspection and things, like people like Gopakumar, who can possibly accredit and then say, okay, here is a group. We need actually an army of people. We have a problem in fire itself. We don't have the accredited auditors. Now, if you look at it, less than 30 meters, they are appointing auditors. My only question to Mr. Warik was, who is basically like training the trainer? Who is actually ensuring that this auditor is having the right knowledge? Is he well versed in NBC, the IS codes when it comes to the sprinkler system? So likewise, we have a challenge there. But in this, there's virtually a vacuum. So we need to look at how do we have a mechanism wherein we have some group of electrical inspectors, if I may say so, not chartered or certified by this one, at least till in the interim period, we need to have competent electrical safety inspectors who can address. And then also, like the Form B, we should also have these people looking into this. Otherwise, the meter room is one of the major problems. And also, of course, the PAT. Otherwise, inspection is done, but at the residential level, there is a problem. So who inspects and ensures, like things like PAT? So that's a long way. But then the basic thing needs to be addressed. That is, I don't know how the mechanism would be, but my submission is, if people like Gopakumar and others can basically unleash an army of, if I may say so, competent electrical inspectors, so those who have the basic knowledge, and then groom them, that may be a good idea. Because now, of course, in things like IoT enabled safety detection systems are also in the market. Again, as he said, what's happened in the hospital, it's just a black box. Nobody knows how it's working.
Ishwar, that software what Mr. Caig, like if you look at behind Mr. Gopakumar made Solve, which is a software. If the people start using that tool, they'll be able to know how well the installation, how well the best practice has been carried out by the building. As you said, the root cause is in the fire, as we are all fire guys. Root cause is poor electrical installation practices and short circuit 80%, even though it is not short, but blindly we say it is due to short circuit. So how do you identify? So that, okay, this kind of knowledge in the beginning I said, it's a high opener. It's a blessing in disguise that virtual webinar is happening. A lot of brainstorming sessions are happening. And again,
Dominic, can I make one suggestion? Can I make a suggestion?
Yes,
What I say is, since this is an important one, the technical issue with this series of seminars, Gope and you are doing is fantastic. It opens everybody's mind on every aspect of the electrical one. But I think now this issue on compliance by the practitioners, builders, electrical consultant, electrical engineer on one side, and enforcement by the electrical inspector. Compliance by the people who do the job and enforcement by the department electrical inspectorate is a larger issue. Nothing to do with the technical aspects of voltage and all that. That of course will be there. Why don't you have a program exclusively next time, a 1.5 hour session only on compliance issue and enforcement issue by the two parties which are involved in the particular thing. And therefore, once you do that, all these aspects will come into sharp focus. We have not been discussing that all these days so far. We took it for granted that there is enforcing it, they will do it. Take that only as a single team on the particular thing.
Yes,
Look at all the
yeah.
electrical inspect, all the state electrical inspectorate will come, lift inspectorate will come, all the electrical consultants will come there, electrical contractors will come there, but they are the one going to do the job. How do you license them, etc. Some issues on fire auditors are already there, which is also confirmed by Prasad Rao, etc. Electrical auditors also an important component, like the CESC to be done over there. Have a panel of electrical auditors on behalf of the government.
Sir, very well said. What the suggested plan, we already have in our mind that we will be having, safety pay charcha, safety pay charcha, building safety pay charcha. We will have all the component involved in that. It is going to be there's no.
But the moment you put safety, don't get to the technology issue, which is already brought out in detail. See, then what will happen is discussion is predominantly on the operational issue. Who will do that particular to ensure all those things which are in NBC or NEC or electricity rules, all the 10 points which Gope has brought out in each session is bringing out those interesting things. And those things are to be done. There's no issue. But how will you ensure it's being done is let's be concentrating that particular session only on that.
Yes, sir. Good suggestion, sir. Now we are running out of time. It's 1:02. We are short of so many questions here. I would assure you every question that is there in our question Q&A box and the chat will be personally attended by Mr. Gopakumar and his team. We will get back to you with all the answers that is required. For conclusion, if Riaz, if is there around, I would allow you to speak for 2 minutes. What's your view on this? And Mr. Gopakumar and Axper. So since you are unmuted, I believe that you are on the system. So over to you, sir.
Good afternoon, all. It was an excellent session and appreciating Gopakumar for last 2 years. He is sharing a lot of good knowledge with respect to electrical safety. And as far as the implementation is concerned, as people are saying, we need to have a implementation focus. In Maharashtra, we have a chartered electrical safety engineer exam last year. Only 5 people are passed and only one is showing on electrical inspectorate website as one of the chartered electrical engineer. So our focus should be have more professionals in this area, which help us to mitigate the risk and improve electrical safety. And appreciating Dominic for continuous webinars and continuous focus in this area. It really help we all. Thanks all.
Thank you. That was a nice concluding remarks, more like an word of thanks that by Riaz Ahmed Khazi. Thanks for this.
Mr. Dominic,
small word. Yeah.
Mr. Dominic, sorry to interrupt you. We have our Sri Bhavani Prasad.
Sir, I think he's left.
Oh my God. We should have greeted him much earlier. I did not know Savas joined.
No, he's left. I think we have was short our time on this. It's 1:04. I just saw he left. Maybe time for lunch for everyone. Everybody must be hungry. I thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for we had almost 470 registration and 200, which is a good turnout for today's session. As Mr. Gopakumar indicated, our next session will be on earthing. Okay, and we will personally contact you each one to join for the program. And again, as there are so many, if you look at it, there is no end to our webinar series. As we conduct, there are new ideas, new thoughts comes. It's not just a business, it's all about giving back to society from what we learn on each every day. So, so kind of you for joining us. We will send you the recording. We will send you those who want certificate of attendance. You can send the request to my mail ID, which is shared by my colleague Lakshmi, who's patiently listening throughout this session. She is posting the comments there. You can write to me. You can write to me for certificate, and Gopakumar will assist you to answer all your questions. And I look forward to see you again. And please share it to bring in all your professional friends to this such forum. And I'm sure end of the day, we can form a group, intelligent group on electrical safety. And, we can change the way we practice in electrical practicing in building. Thank you so much. God bless you. Safe weekend and a wonderful time with your family. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.